this moment, choose what feels expansive to you rather than restrictive, and that will lead to the better choice. And you will feel more empowered, and whatever relationships you're worried about will sort themselves out.
I've realized that everything happens as part of a design almost, that what life is as an experience. If you understand that piece, then you understand that everything also that happens in the game of life sends you into specific directions that you wouldn't have gone had those things not happened.
It wasn't like, would you like to come? It was like, your papers are submitted, you're coming, this is the plan. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big deal for me to be able to actually say that. It was at that moment, it's the first time I had a realization that I have a say in my life.
Zims, tell me about an epiphany that has changed your life.
Okay, well, the first time that I had an epiphany was 28 years ago, and I did not at that point know what an epiphany was, but I remember having this realization that was so huge that it shook me completely and changed my life. I grew up in Saudi with my parents who raised me. And my birth father was also in Saudi for quite a long time in my childhood, but then he moved to the US to get a green card and then a passport. And so at that point, 28 years ago, was when we had just visited Dubai, me and my parents, and found the American University here. And that's where I was supposed to get admitted into for my bachelor's. And I got the approval, got the admission, and around the same time, my birth father said, okay, the whole family is immigrating to the US, and I've submitted your papers, and you're coming with us. And I had always grown up as the obedient daughter, even though our relationship, my birth dad and I, was more like a close uncle because I never really grew up with him the whole time, but I respected him a lot. I was very intimidated by him. Patriarchy and society and culture and all of that. So he was the boss. And I think all of his children were, a bit scared of him. So when I got that news, somehow I had the courage to say, no, thank you. I have just got an admission in university, and I have been waiting for this moment because in Saudi you didn't at that point have higher education for expats after high school. And so It was really hard because culturally letting a girl go to another country to study was not really part of our, the way we do things. And it was a fight. It was a big deal for me, more than it would be for people who don't understand this background.
Right.
And after getting that admission and then having this from my dad, and it was like an order, it was a summon, It wasn't like, would you like to come? It was like, your papers are submitted, you're coming, this is the plan. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big deal for me to be able to actually say that. And I feel like because he wasn't there, because it wasn't in person, I was able to do that. So it was at that moment, it's the first time I had a realization that I have a say in my life. Imagine, in my early 20s, finally getting a little bit of a taste of having some agency in your own life. It was scary for me to Coming from a sheltered background and upbringing to imagine going by myself to a foreign country and a city and living in the dorms, like all of these things, like not even anyone in our circle had done that, you know? They would complete high school, do their bachelor's like through correspondence from Pakistan or something, and then get married by that time, by the
Mm-hmm.
time that I was about to go to university.
Right.
So it was a scary idea for me, that's what I'd be doing. And of course, there was a part of me that could have chosen the security, the belonging, being with
Mm-hmm.
family, being taken
Yeah.
care of.
Yeah.
But yeah, something within me gave me the courage to say no. And the consequences were not great, at least in terms of my relationship with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
He replied, and this was all on email at that point.
Right.
He replied back and he said, pretty much to the effect of, I'm dead to you. Don't ever
Wow.
contact me again.
Wow.
Yeah, so, that's the almost like a punishment that you
Yeah,
get
sure.
for defying,
Mm-hmm.
your father. And
That must have been a really challenging thing to go through for the first time in your life at the age that you were going through. It's not like you would have spent your life defying him in some small ways and all this kind of stuff, right? If you were living apart from each other and this was the first kind of quote unquote test directive that, okay, you must do this as my child. And this is the first time in your life that you're saying, no, I'm not going to do that. And it's a pretty big one. That must have been intense.
it really was. I mean, because, I was kind of living his choices till then.
Mm-hmm.
Even, when my mom died when I was very young and he wasn't able to raise me, it was his choice to ask this couple to help raise me, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I had no choice but to be raised by someone, you know?
Right.
And so, like, until that time, I didn't have a choice. I was just doing whatever these parents or my dad or, like the adults, the elders in the family have told me to do or what they expected of me.
Mm-hmm.
And this was very hard for me. It was hard, especially after he replied with that. I was like, oh no, like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, like this is the price that I have to pay for taking control of my life. Like, but again, I think I was kind of on a roll of defiance because,
Well, tell me about that moment when
yeah.
you received that first email to say what he said. What was your first reaction to it, and what was your thought process like? Walk me through it a little bit.
I mean, there was a couple of things that kind of happened at the same time. There was one part of me that said, okay, great, like total emancipation, like finally, almost,
Right.
that I don't have to answer to one, I have to answer to one less person, let's just say, you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it was like, fine, yeah, whatever. But there was another side that was profoundly sad
Of
because
course.
I had lived my life almost like at the back of my being, there was always this desire to be close to my dad, to be loved
Sure.
by him, to, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the opposite, you know?
Yeah.
So that was, it made me very sad. It
Mm-hmm.
made me feel shaky.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, um, the way I replied was, like I was saying, I think I was on a roll of being defiant, and I said, no, I'm going to stay in touch with you. I will mail you regularly with my updates. It's up to you if you want to read the mails, if you want to reply to them, but I'm not cutting off this contact.
Right.
I need this contact in my life. I feel like my mother would want it. Okay? And we left it at that. And every single month for 2.5 years, I mailed him about what was happening, what classes I was doing, how I was doing, how Dubai is. No reply, nothing. I had no idea if he even read the mails or if he's okay, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 2.5 years, I got a mail that I'm coming to Dubai. I'd like to see you. And
Wow.
that's when we reconnected.
That's incredible. Tell me what
Yep.
that meeting was like when
Uh,
he came to Dubai finally after 2.5 years. Did you sense a difference in him or in your relationship?
it was it was as if the past 2.5 years hadn't happened.
Wow.
You
Okay.
know, like nobody brought it up. I mean, I was too scared to bring anything up. We just picked up from, yeah, how are you doing? How's it going? How's Dubai? You know, all of that. I mean, he was only there for a short time. I met him for one
Okay.
lunch and something. But yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah,
And then
it
things kind of
passed.
normalized after that.
Yeah, they did. They did. And I mean, what that did for me, that realization, that epiphany, that courage, was that it encouraged me to stand up for what I want, what I believe in, even though I may not know what it entails, even though it might be scary. But if it feels like it's something that I want and it's important to me, to ask for it, to fight for it. And that showed up many times in my life from there, you know. It showed up uh, in my job. It showed up in moving from my corporate job to what I do. It showed up in my relationships. Like, it has been a spark that got lit at that point that felt so much like me, like, you know, someone who's confident and who is able to take risks and, you know, face the consequences of your choice as long as it's your choice, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And at that crossroads in time, when he sent you that email, there was a decision you could have made and that you did make, but you could have gone the other way and said, okay, I should choose the safe path, the path that is being led by someone that's more powerful than me, somebody that's supposedly more experienced than me, and all of those kinds of things. But perhaps if you had gone down that path, um, the relationship might have not been the same because you might have had some regrets about what path you didn't follow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I had taken that path and because it was offered with good intentions, he really wanted to do something good for me. He always has
Of
felt that he
course.
hasn't been able to do anything for me, and that an American passport was like the
Hmm.
biggest gift that he could think of giving
Hmm.
me for a good life. And I
Hmm.
believe that if I had gone, it would have been a good life. I'm sure I would have been
Hmm.
happy. But I feel like it wouldn't have been my life. I would have found my happiness within the confines of a life defined for me. Um, but it wouldn't have been this expansive, I believe,
Hmm.
where I get to do and be what I guess I'm meant to be, really. And, you know, the one thing that makes me so sure that this was my destiny is A, because it happened. I mean,
Hmm.
whatever happens is your destiny. It's meant to happen, and it's supposed to be good for you, either through whatever you learn from it or because it just is expansive. But I realized that never during these 28 years have I ever wondered about how would it have been if I'd gone with dad. But I
Hmm.
feel like if I had gone with dad, I would have wondered all my life about how would it have been if I went to Dubai. You
Right.
know, so I believe that that's a good litmus test for me to know that I chose what was meant for me.
Yeah, and I think that that might be a really nice framework for people who come to such crossroads. Is if I go down this path, will I forever be thinking about what would have happened in this other direction I could have gone, and vice versa, and see which path might lead you to feel more regretful, for lack of a better word, and which path might seem like, yeah, like your relationship with your father, for example. You didn't know what reaction you were going to get when you chose the path of going to Dubai. And kudos to you that you persisted for 2.5 years, sending him emails every month, but you didn't know at any point how long you would have to keep doing that to reestablish a relationship with him. But that once that relationship was reestablished, it's like nothing ever changed. You know, you got your relationship back, stronger potentially than ever before, because that resentment was not there anymore, right? Because you were able to follow the path that you wanted to, and you know, things worked out. So you followed your heart, and your heart was right.
Yeah, that's true, and that is what I tell my clients when they're at a crossroads or having to make a difficult decision, that, you know, choose the choice that feels expansive right now. You can't really guarantee anything either way, but in this moment, choose what feels expansive to you rather than restrictive, and that will lead to the better choice. And you'll feel more empowered, and whatever relationships you're worried about will sort themselves out, because the people that we are kind of wanting to please or who we're worried about, deep down, all they really care about is you being happy eventually, once the ego and the hurt, because I know it hurt him, and it's fair. He was hurt. But eventually, he does recognize that, yes, I'm happy here. I mean, he still does bring up once in a while that, oh, you should have had the American passport. But when he comes here, when he visits, when he sees my life, meets my friends, knows that I have a circle, that I'm not alone, because that's another thing he kept on feeling, that you're all alone there, and, you know, you need family. And I had to keep explaining to him many times, very gently and lovingly, that when a person grows up as an only child, like I did, our friends become our family. Like we
Yeah.
have a different network that people with big families may not understand the
Yes.
depth of. So maybe you don't understand it, Daddy, but these friends of mine, like you, Nick, are my lifeline. They are my brothers and sisters and family, and I'm not alone. I'm never alone. And of course, that was more when I wasn't married. Um, Thankfully, I did get married. At least I did one thing to make him happy. Checked the boxes when it came to that. But yeah, now we have a very good relationship, and I think he's even proud of me. He's not
I'm
expressive that
sure he
way,
is. Oh, I'm
like I
sure he
love
is.
you or I'm proud of you, but I do believe that. I feel it, and he's happy enough with me, and that's good enough for me. Hi everyone. We just wanted to take a quick moment to thank you for being here with us at the Epiphany Dialogues, where curiosity meets consciousness. If you're enjoying this episode, please hit the like button, follow, subscribe, and share with like-minded people.
And you're also welcome to join our conversation. If you have an epiphany to share, please leave us a comment or email us. Details are in the description below. And with that, back to the episode. I'm sure he's very proud of you. I mean, we talked about this before, Zims. Because you chose this path and you were courageous enough to go down this line, the work you've done over the last, 20 years?
15.
15
Almost
years that you've
16,
done.
yeah.
Almost 16 years. You've helped almost 2,000 clients with all kinds of issues, including me, and really been an amazing influence and effect on our lives, because you've helped us get beyond the challenges that we were facing in those moments that we come to you and be able to improve our lives, be better, be happier. I think that's kind of what the bottom line is at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what your challenge is or what your personal circumstances are. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters at the end of the day, I think. And you've helped a lot of people achieve that. Had you gone to America, okay, you would have had an American passport. So what? Following this path that you did, you were instrumental in the lives of so many people that you've helped. So I think, this was your destiny, and you had to go down that path, and you found the courage to do that.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And yes, no regrets. It definitely was my destiny. I think I have made the most of whatever I could in terms of the opportunities available to me and my inner guidance. And I think I needed the distance and the space from the expectations to do that, to take the big risks and to make the big moves and be completely responsible for myself. I'm sure, how when we talk, me and you, we talk about like timelines, and there's all sorts of different timelines. Every choice leads to a different potential. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I feel like maybe even if I had gone there, I might have somehow ended up, uh,
Right.
you know, doing this
Yeah.
work. But I don't know if I would have met all of you guys. Like, that's really important to me. Like, every single person that I have met on this particular timeline
Mm-hmm.
is so dear to me and
Mm-hmm.
just fills my heart that I'm like, yeah, sure, I probably could have, achieved whatever the same on the other side, but I don't know if I would have felt this free doing it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Those are the reasons why I myself don't want to. If I had a choice to go and change things in the past to make my life easier, better, whatever, the things that I want now in my life, if I could have started those things, 30 years ago, might have had more success at them by now. But I wouldn't change anything because of the fact that that might have led me into directions that I wouldn't have met the people that are really near and dear to my heart now. My wife, my daughter, you, your husband, all the friends that I really have, like you said, as an only child, when you grow up, you almost have the luxury of choosing your family because those are your friends that you might meet throughout your life. You develop relationships with. You're not stuck with them. And there might be people that come into your life and go from your life, but you are able to hold on to the ones that you really want to have close relationships with. So I wouldn't change any of that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And at this point, I just want to say thank you for staying in touch. I mean, you left Dubai 10 years ago, and
Yeah,
we're
my God.
still in touch, and like not just in touch, but we have all these conversations all the
Yeah.
time. And I'm so grateful for that because, yeah, I would have really felt the loss in my life if we hadn't kept in
Oh,
touch in this way. There's lots of people who come and go, of course, from Dubai, and you stay in touch, but it's never these kind of deep conversations.
yeah, but I think with you it was inevitable because you and I have such similar interests in what life is and what we're doing here on this planet, what this existence is all about, and that's one of the epiphanies that I've had in life is that there is the question of what life is, and there's the question of how to live this life, and those are two different things. I spent most of my life trying to figure out what life is because it didn't make any sense. Why do we exist? What is going on? you see the science of it. You hear about the science of it, that okay, there was this big bang, and everything was just hydrogen at some point, and then all of these hydrogen atoms collided into each other, and they fused and became helium, and then helium became beryllium, and all of these different elements, all these reactions were taking place at that time. But at what point did all of these atoms that were bashing around with each other and fusing into different atoms and elements and molecules, at what point did one of them say, "I'm hungry"? you know, I'm scared. I love these other collections of atoms and molecules. So that kind of stuff always fascinated me since I was a kid. And I always wondered, what is all of this? It's what is the essence of life and existence? Why on this planet is there so much life? If you zoom far out enough, it looks like a little blue speck in the middle of this vast darkness, this vast expanse, this universe. And so somebody wouldn't be able to distinguish that there are different types of life forms on this planet that might have their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own everything, but somehow it seems like it's all connected to each other. So I was always really fascinated by, what all of this stuff is, compared to not spending enough time about how to actually live this life that I am living on this planet, and get all of the things that you need in order to feel happy, in order to feel secure, and all of those kinds of things.
Right.
And at some point, I also realized that you don't necessarily need to figure out what life is completely, but there's also some balance that's required, because there's too many people, going back to your story, that might just live a life that somebody else has planned for us, that somebody else has designed for us. And I feel like there's a lot of people around today, doesn't matter what their age is, they could be in their early 20s like you were, or much older, who have just followed some kind of a blueprint that they think is the meaning of life, or to be successful, or to be happy. And you find people that really know how to play the game of life, and maybe become extremely successful financially, might become very successful in other ways, but deep down they might not have that sense of satisfaction, that sense of happiness, that other people that have absolutely nothing in comparison do. But you have to have a balance between the two things. You need to understand a little bit more about what life is, but also how to live this life.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. I relate to that a lot, because I have been like you, like just, super curious, wondering, searching, and all of that. And it's only, I think, in the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years really, that I have recognized that there is a life to be lived, in real life, just out of your head as well. Just outside of your mind and your spirit, let's say, in your body, like being in the body and living this life and doing your best to live it fully,
Mm-hmm.
has really brought in a lot of joy, um, a lot of playfulness. I used to be a lot more serious, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, I love it. It's really helping me to balance, like you said, between the both. I'm still searching always. I'm still looking. I'm still getting awestruck by the expanse of things, and the, you know, this the smallness of us at
Yeah.
times, and then sometimes getting awestruck by how big we are and how much impact we can make with just a smile and how much power we have. But yeah, actually living in my day-to-day life, like being present, soaking up things in the present environment, is it's beautiful. Feels more complete. Sorry, I just wanted to, just going back to your epiphany, um, how has that impacted you? What has come out of that realization?
Yeah, I think when I realized at some point that I haven't done enough in my life to play the game of life, to actually do the things that I need to in order to bring balance between both uh, intellectual, philosophical questions and practical, realities of life. I think it helped me to not only gain balance in terms of doing more of what I need to do in order to be quote unquote successful in this life, but on the flip side, it also helped me balance out that success in this life, materially or as far as the game of life is concerned, is also not everything, and there needs to be some balance. As an example, previously, when I'd lost my job, let's say if I had lost a job or some opportunity had come to an end, or the company that I had set up had to be closed down because of the economic crisis or whatever it was, it would send me into like a deep depression of, oh, here's another thing that didn't work out, didn't, wasn't successful, it failed. And the unknown would then really kind of make it difficult to be in that moment, and all of the worries and all the troubles and all these kinds of things would really kind of take over and become very difficult to manage. And most recently, I've realized that everything happens as part of a design almost. That there's this part of life, of what life is as an experience. If you understand that piece, then you understand that everything also that happens in the game of life kind of sends you into specific directions that you wouldn't have gone had those things not happened. If certain relationships hadn't ended painfully when they did, they wouldn't have sent me in a different direction to find much more happiness than ever before. If certain endeavors didn't end the way they did, then they wouldn't have sent me in different directions. Like, for example, the company that I set up in Dubai, it became one of the most successful companies in that particular space ever. We were hugely successful within a couple of years, and we had almost taken over the market completely within a short amount of time. And had the economic crisis not happened, we would have continued growing that company, we would have stayed in Dubai, we would have had a different life. But what that would have done is it wouldn't have made me realize that I need to leave Dubai in order to have some roots for my daughter somewhere.
Right.
Because, as you know, even if you're born in Dubai and you live in Dubai your whole life, you're always dependent on a visa. And things have changed now. I know that they've changed the visa rules, and there's definitely more flexibility with how much you can stay in Dubai as an expat.
Yeah.
But at that time, it sent me to immigrate to Canada, and having my daughter grow up here and absorb what it feels like to live in a society that's not a patriarchy, that has individual rights for everyone, that as a woman you can feel empowered to live life however you want to live your life without any restrictions, without any societal pressures on you. Those are the kinds of things that I think will really help her in her life. And if she had grown up in other countries like in Pakistan or in Dubai, she might not have had that as part of her personality in her very being. But having been here from the time that she was 10 years old, now that's going to be part of her life forever.
Absolutely.
And then she could move anywhere she wants to. She could go back to Dubai, or live anywhere that she wants to live. And being able to give her that platform was something that wouldn't have happened had I stayed in Dubai, and this company would have flourished and all these kinds of things, and countless other unknown benefits that have come from having something fail and having learned something from it. So I think the biggest epiphany that I think I had from all of this is trusting that what life is will show you the way, but at the same time there is some action that needs to be taken practically in this game of life as well, and you have to find the right balance between those two things.
Very well said. Yes, I agree. I mean, there's always signs, there's always nudges. If we are tuned in and we're listening and paying attention, they don't necessarily have to be drastic and, challenging. If we're kind of like almost ahead of the curve or at the curve, it's actually quite organic. It's quite simple. It's quite easy. You feel something, you sense it. And even before, let's say, they let you go from a job, you're already working on something else, or things like that. Like, yeah, life is, I feel, quite gentle and kind until you just get stuck and you just ignore and you just don't listen, and then it'll kind of get louder and a bit sharper, the nudges, until you make that move because it is good for you. It might be disruptive, it might be challenging, but it will be for your best.
Thank you so much for being the one that decided that, okay, this is an endeavor that you and I must start.
Well, thank you. Thank you for agreeing. I mean, I know you're the one who foretold this a long, long time ago. And when you actually wrote your book, which we will talk about in great detail, I can't wait to do that. When you wrote your book last year, I was like, kind of jokingly saying, okay, Nick, that's it. We've done that thing that we were supposed to do together because you mentioned
Right.
me in your book. So that's great. And you were like, okay, maybe, and then I'm the one who comes up with, Nick, you want to do a podcast? And to my great surprise, like, I mean, I don't even know why I was surprised because, we're so similar. But when you said, yeah, that's a great idea, I was so shocked. Like, I thought I would have to sell it a little bit. But thank you for making it so easy, really. Thank you for being you. Pretty much one of the very, very few, probably even in some cases, the only person that I can talk to for hours about all of this life and cosmos and the universe and epiphanies. And you not only listen, but you contribute and then you share your own ideas. And yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you for this friendship.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you right back. And I think that hopefully through this podcast, we're going to find more people that have epiphanies about what all of this is, and how to live it as well at the same time, and be part of our journey together as human beings and as souls.
Amen. I love
All
that.
right. So until next time, you take care of yourself, and I'll see you.
You too.